Imagine possessing a window into a world that no longer exists. Before the first camera clicked, humanity's knowledge of the animal kingdom was only as good as a researcher's sketch. And often, those drawings were pure works of fiction. But in the late 19th century, the impossible happened. The invention of motion pictures tore away the veil to the past. For the first time, we saw creatures not as dusty museum exhibits, but as they truly were. We saw them breathe, fight, and exist in their wild splendor. Yet, behind these recordings lies a cruel irony. Over the last 100 years, cameras captured the very last seconds of beings that have now been swallowed by the earth forever. These are not nature documentaries. They are cinematic headstones. In this video, we will witness these haunting, rare clips and reveal the heartbreaking story behind each fate. Hold your breath. Let's begin. Number 7. The Woolly Mammoth. A titan of ice and fur, as massive as a building, whose echo we still believe we hear in the frozen vastness of Siberia. Picture a colossus wandering through snowstorms that would kill any human in seconds. The woolly mammoth was the undisputed ruler of the Ice Age. While we believe they vanished eons ago, the last of them were still alive when humans were already building the pyramids of Giza. They were isolated, their genes decaying, their empire shrinking until only silence remained. But then, there is this video, March 1943. Amidst the chaos of World War II, a German soldier named Holger Hildebrand pointed his camera at the horizon. What he saw there defies all biology, a shaggy figure trudging through the Siberian snow. If this video is not a fake, it means we must completely rewrite the history of the Earth. It would prove that in the infinite, unmapped reaches of Siberia, secrets have survived that we thought were gone for millennia. Number 6. The Chinese paddlefish. He was the undisputed giant of Asia's longest river, a prehistoric warrior who survived even the dinosaurs. This fish was not just an animal, it was a monument. Up to 7 meters long, a living submarine of flesh and blood, plowing through China's murky waters with an electric radar sword. He saw the continents drift and the reign of the dinosaurs end. But against the hunger of modern man and the concrete walls of massive dams, this 200-million-year-old titan stood no chance. We severed his lifeline. The Gajuba Dam became an insurmountable wall, separating parents from their spawning grounds. In 2002, the last of its kind was fitted with a transmitter, a final hope. But after only a few hours, the signal fell silent forever. It is a chilling thought that this massive creature may have spent years calling out into the dark depths of the Yangtze for companions that were long gone. The Chinese paddlefish didn't just go extinct, it faded away in the total loneliness of a dying river. Number 5. The Pyrenean Ibex. On the steepest cliffs in the world, a lonely warrior fought against the wind, the last bearer of a bloodline that had already conquered the Ice Age. Celia was the last of her kind. Imagine being the last living being on this planet that speaks your language, that shares your instincts. Celia climbed paths that no human could ever tread, a lonely queen of the peaks. On January 6, 2000, her era ended under the weight of a falling tree. A mundane accident ended a million-year-old history. But what happened next borders on science fiction. We tried to play God. We cloned Celia. For 7 precious minutes, the Pyrenean Ibex returned from the dead. These 7 minutes were the only time in Earth's history that an extinction was reversed, if only for a heartbeat. It was as if nature had briefly allowed us to peer behind the curtain of death, only to pull it shut even tighter. Number 4. The Golden Toad. In the dense cloud forests of Costa Rica, hid a creature whose sudden end continues to shock the scientific world to this day. The golden toad was a phantom of the wilderness, existing on a tiny patch of land just 4 square kilometers in size. For most of the year, these creatures lived completely hidden, buried deep beneath the damp roots of the jungle. But every spring, a miracle occurred. Hundreds of them crawled out simultaneously to mate in shallow rainwater pools. In 1987, researchers still observed a healthy, pulsating crowd of about 1,500 animals. These photos capture one of their last great gatherings. But only 1 year later, the unthinkable happened. Scientists returned and found only 10 individuals. By May 1989, the once proud population had shrunken to a single lonely male. It was the last time a human ever saw a golden toad alive. A catastrophic drought and a deadly fungus had turned their habitat into a grave. In this video, you see the likely last footage ever taken of them. The golden toad is considered today the first species whose extinction can be directly linked to climate change. In less than 3 years, it was wiped out forever. Number 3. The dodo. A bird so fearless that it never saw its own destruction coming. Imagine a creature that could have stepped straight out of a storybook. A bird, heavy as a full-grown German shepherd, with plumage as gray as the morning mist and a gaze that knew no danger. For millions of years, Mauritius was its untouchable paradise. The dodo was so peaceful that it simply did not understand the concept of threat. It looked every monster straight in the eye and stood its ground. But this divine trust became its death warrant. When the ships arrived in 1598, they brought the apocalypse in the form of pigs and rats. While the dodo curiously approached the strangers, the invaders devoured its only hope: its eggs. In just 64 years, humanity erased a being that had endured for eons. To this day, scientists wonder if the dodo's skeleton provides clues to an intelligence we have completely underestimated. Perhaps its gentleness was not an evolutionary mistake, but a sign of a world we can no longer even imagine. To this day, we hope for its rebirth through modern genetics. Number 2. The thylacine, Tasmanian tiger. He had the stripes of a tiger, the body of a wolf, and the soul of a kangaroo, an evolutionary hybrid that we hunted without mercy. The thylacine was the largest carnivorous marsupial of modern times, a predator with a jaw that could open nearly 90 degrees, a sight like something out of a nightmare. But the true nightmare was man. Out of pure greed and unfounded fear, we placed bounties on its existence. We turned the wilderness into a slaughterhouse until the blood of the thylacine soaked the Tasmanian soil. This video shows Benjamin. He is not just an animal in a cage, he is the face of absolute finality. He died in 1936, alone and freezing in the Hobart Zoo, after someone forgot to open the door to his night quarters. Humanity watched as the last of its kind flickered out. Even today, hikers in the remote forests of Tasmania report howling cries at night that cannot be attributed to any known animal. Could it be that Benjamin was not the last, and that the shadows of the past still creep through the undergrowth? Number 1. The Pinta Island tortoise. He was the loneliest witness in history, a Methuselah who waited in the shadows for decades while his entire world died around him. Lonesome George was more than a tortoise. He was a living relic from a time when the world was still untouched. He survived the massacre of the whalers who used his brothers as living provisions. For over 60 years, he hid in the wild, the sole survivor of a forgotten tribe. When he was finally found, he became a global star and the saddest symbol of loneliness. Every morning, his keeper Fausto cycled to him, hoping for a miracle. George waited. He waited for decades until, in 2012, he simply stopped breathing. George carried the memory of a world that existed before we invented cars, planes, or the internet. With his last breath, not just an animal vanished, but a living archive of our Earth that we can never read again. The last documented sighting, a final photograph, or a last recorded breath. The images we have seen today are far more than just historical archive material. They are the lasting testimony of a world we will never experience again. Once these lights are extinguished, there is no switch to turn them back on. What disappears from the timeline of our natural world is, according to everything we know today, lost forever. We share this planet with creatures that can vanish faster than a camera can click.